Check or no? Welcome back to another episode of Runway, where we talk about current events, Web3, technology, AI, politics, and more. Today, I'm joined by three esteemed guests, the Ziggler himself, Todd, Bitcoin Ben, and BJ Dick himself. The BJ Dick.
God, now we're
BJ Dick.
You know, I gave you all a toy to play with. You don't pick it up every time you can speak.
I can't help
You
myself.
got to use it strategically.
Why you bitching at us? We didn't name you fucking the BJ Cock or whatever your last name is. Jesus Christ. You need to slap the fuck out of your parents.
All right, I have a
That's
new
what you
name.
do.
It's Bitcoin Ben.
That's all I do. Fucking
I'm those 19 fake accounts, by the way.
I hope you're making money, brother.
Guys, if you follow Bitcoin Ben, make sure you're following his correct account. He's got about 500 fake ones he uses to scam people.
That's right. That's right. That's where I rug pull motherfuckers. Welcome to my Ben coin. Oh wait, no, that'd be BitBoy.
Oh, man. Guys,
What?
we got a lot of shit fucking teed up today, so let's just... I haven't even seen this yet, but everyone's been sending it to me. So I
This
figured
just came out
this, like,
about
just happened.
5 minutes ago.
So
This is absolutely fascinating. You're going to love it.
Let's see what just happened here between Vance, Trump, and Zelensky. I heard it's kind of wild. Here's 2 minutes of it.
In the destruction of your country.
Yes, but if you are
Mr.
not
President,
strong...
Mr. President, with respect, I think it's disrespectful for you to come into the Oval Office and try to litigate this in front of the American media. Right now, you guys are going around and forcing conscripts to the front lines because you have manpower problems. You should be thanking the President for trying to bring an end to this conflict.
Have you ever been to Ukraine that you say what problems we have?
I have been to.
Come once.
I've actually watched and seen the stories, and I know what happens is you bring them on a propaganda tour, Mr. President. Do you disagree that you've had problems bringing people into your military?
We have problems.
And do you think that it's
I
respectful
will answer.
to come to the Oval Office
I
of the
will
United
answer.
States of America and attack the administration that is trying to prevent the destruction of your country?
A lot of questions. Let's start from the beginning.
Sure.
First of all, during the war, everybody has problems. Even you, but you have nice ocean and don't feel now, but you will feel it in the future. God bless.
You don't know that.
God bless.
You don't
God
know
bless.
that.
You
Don't-
will not have
gotta-
a war.
Don't tell us what we're going to feel. We're trying to solve a problem.
Dude,
don't tell
fucking
us
kick
what
him
we're
in the
gonna feel.
dick.
I'm not telling you.
Because
I'm
you're in no
answering on this
position to
question.
dictate that.
That's
Remember
exactly what
this.
I'm
not
You're
dictating.
in no position to dictate what we're going to feel.
You
We're
will-
going to feel very
you will
good.
feel influence.
We're going to feel very
I'm
good and
telling
very
you,
strong.
You will feel influence.
You're right now not in a very good position. You've allowed
From the
yourself
very-
to be in a
from
very
the very
bad position,
beginning
and he
of the
happens
war.
to be right about
From
it.
the very beginning of the war.
You're not
Mr.
in a
Brown,
good position.
I
You don't
was
have
in
the cards right now. With us, you start having
not playing
cards.
cards.
But right now, you
I'm
don't.
very
You're playing
serious,
cards.
Mr. President.
You're
I'm
playing
very
cards.
serious.
You're
I'm
gambling
the
with the
president
lives
in
of
war.
millions of people.
You think-
You're gambling with World War
What do you-
III.
what do you
You're
think about?
gambling with
What do you
World
think
War
about?
III. And what you're doing is very disrespectful to the country, this country.
I'm
It's
with
back
all
to
respect
you.
to your
Far
country.
more than a lot of people said
very
they
respect.
should have.
Have you said thank you once?
A
This
lot
entire
of
meeting?
times.
No, in this
Even
entire meeting,
today.
have you said thank
Even
you?
today.
You went to Pennsylvania and campaigned for the opposition in October. Offer some words of appreciation for the United States
what
of
are you speaking
America
about?
and the president who's trying to save your country.
Holy shit.
Fuck me, dude.
Wow.
Oh, I wish Trump would have fucking punched him in the dick. Seriously. Because he was close enough to. Oh, God, that little.
That's wild.
I think
Shit.
what's fascinating about that is that's how politics is sometimes behind the scenes in caucus meetings and stuff
Yeah.
like that. And Trump, ever the showman, he understands what is a viral moment. I'm willing to bet they had a conversation and said, well, let's just throw it out up there and let people see what's really going on.
Hell yeah.
So you're getting an insight into the window of how government works that you've never seen before.
I'm here for it.
See,
Transparency. I love it.
I think I disagree.
Okay.
Because
Ooh, I love it.
with the availability, I've had access to pretty high level people,
Yeah.
and that's not how Trump rolls. Right? Trump's a fly by the seat of his ass type of person. He doesn't plan jack fuck, and I guaranteed Trump walked out there with, hey, let's have a good press conference. Let's be honest to the people. Let's do this. But also with Trump, if you punch him,
He's going to punch back.
he's going to punch back.
Well, and that's
counterpuncher.
my point. My point is, don't pull any punches. Let's do this. Let's see what happens. He's very organic,
oh yeah,
and
yeah.
that's what I'm referring to. So
And if you look at when Trump really put, like when he said something, was as soon as that little midget Huggins said, America will feel it. And
that's
Trump's like, oh,
so-
will we,
yeah.
you little bitch.
He sounded like a Ukrainian mob boss.
Oh, dude. Now, I'm not going to say nothing about the Ukrainian mob, right? But they're a bunch of fags, too. Because literally, the Ukrainian mob.
If you don't have a sense of humor, tune out of the stream right now.
Yeah. And I'm
fucking go away.
sorry. I'm sorry if you're a fag. I didn't mean to offend you. I will call you something other than a fag.
Ben, I do think the Mike Tyson, everybody has a plan until they get punched in the mouth. That also, I think, might apply to Vladimir Klitschko. So
Yes.
you got to be a little bit careful.
Yeah.
No,
He's a big guy.
I'm telling you now. All right. The mafia, the Ukrainian mafia's history is they're all Jewish. All right. The difference between the mafia and the mob is that the mafia is Italian and the mob is Jewish. All right.
I don't know, but okay.
No, trust me.
I don't know
on
anything
this.
about that.
All right. That guy right there, that guy is led by a group of CIA agents who pretend to be Ukrainian mob. What they really are is they're Ukrainian Jews, which are actually known as Harsarian Jews. This goes way back in history, right? Rothschild. Do you remember how Rothschild actually changed his name from something else?
Okay, go on.
I
think for me, I don't.
And please slap me back because
yeah.
I'll squirrel off into some fucking trees.
We're like 700 years in the past right now.
Yeah, I don't like to collectivize, define
There's so
people
many
by
different things.
groups.
Yeah. There's so much going on.
And I think there's a lot more to it. I know in the case of Zelensky, the guy who funded him, who was not Jewish, was on the board of Burisma. He's the one who paid for the TV show. He got elected in real life, and then Zelensky threw him in jail.
All right, let me do a little correction.
Yeah.
not all Jews are bad. There are good Jews and bad Jews, just like there's like good white
Cops and
people
bad.
and
there's,
bad
there's
you
good
know,
and bad in
really
every
bad.
group
Right.
of people, right?
Yeah.
I wasn't like poking at Jewish
No,
people.
okay. No, yeah.
It's there are good and bad of all cultures,
Yeah.
but the actual point I was making is all of this is a fucking illusion, right? This whole Ukraine horse shit.
Well, my opinion has always been like, which team do you like, Russia or Ukraine? They both suck. Next
Yeah.
topic. How about America and how about Canada?
How about America?
That's kind of my
Exactly.
like. I got a communist an ethno-communist dictator running Canada, and they're going to replace him with an even more authoritarian. So I really don't care. About Vladimir versus Vladimir, which
Yes.
is what we're dealing with.
Yeah, no
And sending
shit.
all our tax money there.
Yeah,
That's actually hilarious that you said that. But it kind of really, I mean, you hit the nail on the head. I think that's why Trump got elected. I think that's what the American people have been saying is like, yeah, that shit sucks, but like that doesn't have to do with
Yeah, because
us.
the informed
yeah,
American
like-
is looking at that and saying,
holy shit.
what am I paying for?
Yeah.
Why don't my kids have a playground in their school? Because of that? No.
Mr. President, you're going to feel it soon.
Yeah.
They're coming.
And I think what was interesting about this, and I think you'll like
that's
this.
a great accent.
We saw that was very good. By
He's
the
a
way.
spy.
I'm
Nico. No.
We saw forever the Nico.
So Nico,
We fought-
from Simply Bitcoin. Tag him on this thread, Paul. Let him know that.
Yeah.
I've been
Oh,
getting
you
called.
betcha.
I've been getting called Nico all day. So
but,
Nico,
but
if
listen,
you do see this,
Nico, what we've seen is we're watching that little troll being pranced around in the legacy news for years now as the big hero
Yeah.
on this propaganda tour, and he just did it in front of the entire world.
Yeah.
Now you saw what he really is.
Yeah.
So,
He's only a puppet. Right?
well, most of them are. Most politicians are. That's just the way it is.
yeah.
Well,
that's-
he isn't even a politician.
Yeah.
He's a piece of
Comedian.
shit.
Yeah.
All right, who we actually funded in 2014 when actually we went in there and
Yeah.
we regime changed
yeah.
Yeah.
in-
14. Yeah.
to this fucktard.
You look cute in that dress, though.
That's,
Gotta get-
oh, man.
Dancing, doing his little thing.
All right, let's go on to the
Yeah.
next maniac.
Well, I have one more question about this. What can somebody give me? I mean, maybe you can because you're pretty good at like steel manning. What's the other side of this equation? Like, what's the leftist argument here? Like the left of like why we need to continue to prop this up and fund this. And
Why do we do this?
I don't think
I'm
that
curious. I want to hear what he has to say.
I don't think that it's actually left or right because I know a lot of people on the right in
Yeah.
Canada and the right in here that support Zelensky, right? It's always interesting to me when Canadians complain. Canadians on my side, truckers, whatever, complain about Trudeau being very authoritarian and ruthless and whatever. Well, you wouldn't want to live under Vladimir Putin either, because that's just as bad, sort of thing. And I think they brainwashed themselves in the public sphere that Putin is this evil, maniacal maniac. Maybe he is evil, maybe he is not. I think he's way more calculating than
Way
they
more
give him
calculated.
credit for.
Yeah, I think so too.
And he is he like him or not, he's very smart and he's very good at geopolitics and he's much better at it than most people in the West. And I think there's a perceived threat from that they need to weaken Putin and get rid of him because he's so much better at this game and forming alliances around the world with regimes that are going to be hostile towards Canada, the US, and the West. And I think that's what's driving it. And like many things, we discussed it in our interview, many things can be explained by Hanlon's razor. Never ascribe malice to those things that could be explained with stupidity and incompetence.
What's
and
that
that's
called
what we're
again?
seeing.
What's that called?
Hanlon's razor.
Hanlon?
Hanlon's razor, yeah.
Yeah, look that up, Paul. Put that in the notes. That's a
I
cool one. I
think
like that.
it's-
Is that a subsidiary of Occam's razor?
Okay. I'm sorry.
No,
Yeah.
but another British political leader.
Got it.
All right, the question I have: do you think that there's a global elite?
No, because I've met many of those people, like the ultra wealthy people, and they all have competing interests. And a perfect example I give people that like look at Elon Musk and Bill Gates; they hate each other. And those are people on the top tier, and they have completely different interests in moving forward. It's like that amongst the entire wealthy class. And for me, the reason I get very concerned about that is the left-wing postmodern frame of the oppressor versus the oppressed, the 99% versus the 1%.
Well, what
the
if
global
it's true?
elites versus the rest of us.
There was such a good chart that I saw. I know I've referenced this a couple times, but it's like this square, and it shows like what people think it is, like the rich versus the poor, and then there's like another cube over here, and it shows like the cross sections. Like what really is people that want to fucking control other people, and people over here that don't want to control other people, and there's rich and poor on each spectrum.
So this is what I think we get wrong, and believe me, I have no love of politicians, and believe.
Oh no, this is going to be a good show. Y'all are going to want to record this shit.
Yeah, given what I've gone through.
We're not live yet, Ben. Just say whatever you want.
Okay.
But
Thanks, Nico. Fucking Nico's gonna send me a text and be like, "Quit calling them."
Most people will be like, saying shit off the air. That's like not so bad. Ben's like polite and nice off the air, but once the cameras come on, it's like holy.
Then the
fuck.
trucker comes out.
Then the trucker
right?
comes out.
Yeah.
I love it. And most people are the opposite. They're like, they'll say whatever they want off the air, but on the air, they're like, "Oh, I'm Joseph R. Biden."
Yeah,
stand up guy.
So I think what we do is, and you've spent time in Washington, so I think you'll agree with this.
I'm actually going to send Nico a message and send him a picture of you.
We get this idea. I see a lot of this of us that are frustrated. That's why we've come to Bitcoin, and we've come to alternative methods, money off the system. So we ascribe everything to a group of people who want control. And my experience is
there it is right there. Found it. So
that's the complete opposite. People in people in elected officials, with some exceptions, but in general, they don't feel like they're in control. They don't want control. They don't want to be in a scandal tomorrow morning and have their life ruined, their wife leave them, and all that sort of stuff. And I remember I was with this person who's a big political donor several years ago in Canada, and very influential around the world. And I asked her, I said, I don't understand, like, they're very concerned about the woke extremism, I call it ethno-communism, whatever you want to call it. And they're just as concerned, but they have more to lose than we do, right? And they're very concerned about how this. I said to her, why are you not pushing back? And she said, well, look, Canada's a much smaller country. So in Canada, there are, your wealthier class are the ones who are trying to build themselves, their legacies. So they run charities, they get involved in politics, and they don't know what to do. So they're trying to fund politicians, political movements, people they are told will help to put an end to it. And I said, okay. She said, but there are people who are ultra high net worth who are on the other side. Your Reid Hoffmans, Champagne socialists, and they all know each other. And so they do lots of initiatives together, businesses together. They're trying to push back. She said, but if I push back too hard, you know what happens? They kick me out of the social circle.
So?
The people on the ultra left. And she says, the problem is these are the captains of industry. Right now I have a seat at the table, and I can talk to them and tell them that's going too far. You shouldn't be funding groups like that and whatever. Like George Soros, for example, the Soros family.
What is up with that
guy? He's a
guy?
Piece of shit.
He is, but that guy has other ultra high net worth people who talk to him and say, "What are you doing? Stop funding this. It's causing chaos." Well, at least they're having the conversation. In her case, she's like, "If I push too far, then I'm not even going to be at the table, and I can't even persuade those people." It was very interesting to be with somebody who is ultra high net worth, ultra wealthy.
And
feeling
ultra
like,
naive.
Feeling like she's got no power.
She doesn't.
They don't. They all don't.
No,
that's
do.
The point.
All right. Let me ask you a question. Do you believe that there's an Epstein issue?
What do you mean an Epstein issue?
Oh, I can't wait to hear this.
Do you believe that there were rich, wealthy people that Epstein befriended, then recorded
Oh, he completely extorted
Absolutely.
100%.
All right.
It happens all the time, by the way. And he is a
Right.
low level player.
He thinks
there are
that's an
people
interesting point.
way worse than him.
What I'm saying is that's who I'm talking about.
Okay.
Right? These are not just good old-fashioned capitalists who have different interests.
Yeah.
No, fuck that.
They're champagne socialists.
No, they're fucking kids.
Yeah.
All right?
Yeah. Diddy as well.
Right,
Diddy's
and-
another example.
And people who fuck kids should be killed.
Agreed.
Agreed.
100%.
Yeah.
So let's agree that Epstein there was a list of people who went to the island and other properties that he owned that participated in illegal sexual activities with children. The reason he did that, it wasn't like he said he didn't create a club for people who like to have sex with kids and everyone joined. No, he was blackmailing politicians, corporate billionaires, corporate leadership, BlackRock, and all these other influential people. So him and the people behind him, which was the Mossad, all right. Oh, you think I'm wrong?
No.
Let's hear what you have to say, BJ. Let's hear it.
No.
No, go on.
No, I love this.
Who was Epstein's partner? What was her name?
Maxwell?
Yeah, who was her dad?
Maxwell, yeah.
All right. Who'd he work for?
Wasn't he an entrepreneur, business person?
No.
Yeah.
He was part of the Mossad over in Israel. And I'm not saying it's a Jewish thing.
No, I know that.
Right.
I know that. I'm not
Right.
saying that.
What happened was over in Ukraine, and I'm tying this back to
Okay.
Ukraine.
Yeah.
There's a lot of modeling agencies out of Ukraine. Epstein used to fly models, approximately 14 to 16 years old, from Ukraine into Florida.
Okay.
From Florida, he'd go to Ohio. And you're from Ohio.
No,
Right.
Ontario, Canada.
Right.
I'm from Ohio.
He's
Yeah.
from Ohio.
JD Vance is from Ohio.
Yes, he is.
Ye-
And then Vivek is going to be your next governor, apparently.
Oh, I hope so. I love the fact.
Yeah.
So Ghislaine's dad was a British tycoon, so he was an entrepreneur. It
Yeah.
says he's a British tycoon. So he did have he was a successful entrepreneur at the very least. It
All
looks
right,
like.
read.
But here it's saying that he was buried on Jerusalem's Mount of Olives. Many members of the Israeli intelligence community attended his funeral, which is a little sus.
How'd he die?
Wow.
So too did Yitzhak
Watch.
Shamir, Israel's then prime minister. Shamir eulogized the British tycoon for the political connections he brought to Israel during the 1980s and for the money he invested in it.
2 years ago, while awaiting trial on traffic.
That's Epstein.
That's it. Huh?
That was Epstein, yeah. They're
No.
saying that he hung himself,
Yeah.
which none of us believe. I'm
All
sure
right.
at the very
So
least.
I don't know if anybody's been to Israel.
But let's hear
I've
your.
been.
I want to hear your counter. to
It's
that
the
whole
same
narrative.
size as El Salvador, both in area wise and people wise. Firstly, in that country, everybody's conscripted, and everybody knows each other, just like in El Salvador. You know, all the 40-year-olds, they all know each other, sort of thing. So knowing people in intelligence that come to your funeral of an ultra wealthy guy there, well, that's not.
Yeah,
That's
I
half
can
the
see that.
country,
Yeah, I can
you
see
know?
that.
Right,
Yes, that rationale makes sense.
Yeah.
I would agree with you if I didn't know you were wrong.
Well, before you continue, like the problems I always hear about Mossad. Mossad is like the only intelligence agencies, not you, but you know,
Yeah.
in the cultural zeitgeist, people have heard of are the FBI, CIA, and Mossad. I never hear them complaining about the ISI, the FSB, the Muslim Brotherhood intelligence agency, which is
Absolutely.
out of Qatar,
KGB.
and that's where they're no longer. That's the FSB now.
Oh yeah. FSB.
The most dangerous ones right now are the ISI and the Muslim Brotherhood intelligence bureaus. That's what's causing all the chaos in the West. And I see this distraction from a country that in the Middle East that's really irrelevant. It's just a small country that is on the front of the theocratic dictatorships in the region at war with them. And that, you know what I mean?
Then let's actually. I will never say Israel again.
No.
No. All right. And I'm actually going to bring up like ISIS or ISIL. We're actually going to talk about all of the other terrorist groups.
We're going to have an amazing conversation on your podcast.
Oh, I
can't
know.
wait. It's
Because literally, all of those terrorist groups were created by the CIA. All of them. Every single one of them. You name one fucking terrorist organization, and I can literally break down who signed off on it in the CIA, when they signed off on it. It's every terrorist group was the freedom fighters that we armed. It happened in the 80s with Russia whenever they went into Afghanistan. All of a sudden, we had the fucking Taliban. Well, the Taliban was, and who supposedly did 9/11? Osama bin Laden. Yeah, fucking bullshit. All right, because Osama bin Laden's father owns half of the company with the George Bushes. All right, it's a construction company.
Didn't he admit to doing it though? Pretty sure he went on and said, "Allahu Akbar, death to America, I fuck them all." Pretty sure he took ownership.
Well, okay, hold on before you continue. You're partially right. There's more to the story.
Well, that's because you didn't let me finish.
No. I know. Hold on. Just
do our
bookmark
for,
there, and we'll
for
continue.
Celsius, so you can get through these conversations on full caffeine.
Red Bull.
Make sure you got a lot of
cocaine. No.
burns body fat, essential energy.
So
get that caffeine boost.
When you say the CIA, I don't know if you said created them or started them or
created them.
No, they funded them. So, for example, which is why we're in this mess with USAID, and I'm on board with it. We shouldn't be doing.
If we weren't funding transgender surgeries on monkeys in Pakistan, then I wouldn't even have believed it myself.
Yeah, exactly. So
we pretty much fund everything. Apparently,
why did they fund the Mujahideen in northern Afghanistan? Because they were at war with the Soviets, and we had a cold war with the
enemy
communists.
Of your enemy is your friend.
And we didn't want the communists to have the influence that they have now today in the United States. That's what that was all about, right?
Nope.
So with each with each one of these groups, you can look at them individually and say, okay, they shouldn't have funded them, but this was the rationale at the time why they did that. Was it a mistake? Yeah, it's pretty stupid. Should probably just stay out of the region.
Fuck out of all these conflicts and bullshit.
I'm not on the side where I agree with that, but I'm just saying there are
it
reasons
happens.
each individual case, they would justify it with a series of reasons and intel and all that sort of stuff.
All right,
and that's why.
I'm a pretty simple guy. Yeah. If you slap the shit out of your wife, you're a wife beater.
Yeah.
All right. If it only happens one, you're still a fucking wife beater.
Yeah. No, I hear you. I agree.
All right. And what I'm saying is the CIA, if you know the history of the CIA, before it was the CIA, it was actually the SSI.
Yeah.
All right. And pre that, during the Civil War, there was a whole nother branch that was basically the roots of the SSI. We've been doing this forever. As long as there have been humans, there have been elite groups or governments that actually go in, shake shit up when they don't like the actual country. The reason we funded and created the Taliban in the 70s, right, originally under Nixon, and then it rolled over to Ford and all that bullshit, and was because we were planning to get rid of the USSR. And the Taliban, who we trained in the 70s, in the 80s, when Russia invaded Afghanistan, that's why we created them, so they could take on the Russians or the USSR. Right? The reason they did that is because we were the global currency. The USSR wasn't. So we knew if we could put them into a war that they couldn't win, that they would totally wreck their currency trying to actually fight the war. Because we didn't really bring down the USSR. The USSR imploded because of the currency.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, yeah.
There's more reasons, communism and all.
I think I remember many years ago when I was very much involved.
Hang on,
I was just going to go to him in a second. I just want to put this point forward. I met with this guy. I was with a Christian group in Canada, and they flew this guy in to speak He was only in Toronto for a few days, and then he had to go back to Iraq. And this is during the period of ISIS, during the Obama administration. And what he was doing is he was evacuating family by family, all the Christian families in Iraq, and getting them to safe harbor, any country, just about. And I remember during the Q&A session, somebody asked him, said, how did this ISIS group start? We never heard of them 6 months ago. Like, who started them? And he said, don't believe your news, another evidence that your news is fake. They have been there for 30 years. Saddam kept them under control. Anytime they would pipe up, the extremist Islamists, the ISIS types, he'd just kill them. That's the way the Middle East works. But
Yes.
once there was a vacuum,
A power vacuum, yeah.
and the United States fired every Ba'ath member who was in governance, guess what happened? Half of those people joined ISIS. There was no infrastructure to combat them, and they just grew and it metastasized, and that's what you have there, right?
We'll throw a couple, $100 million into the equation, and all
Yes.
of a sudden they got new tanks and new
Well,
weapons.
Yeah, and
ISIS was
sorts of shit.
originally the Free Syrian Army.
well, that's what they evolved into.
the
but,
rebel groups
yeah.
that we were funding, a lot of that
Yeah.
was ISIS.
There's so many there, and with there's something I wish I could tell you publicly about Osama bin Laden,
Oh,
but
you
we'll
can.
talk.
You
No,
just
I can't.
won't.
Just
Yes,
fucking
you
tell
can.
us.
No,
Come
no,
on,
no,
brother,
no.
bring it
Let us
out.
know.
No,
Give us the deets.
we have to talk.
You brought
about
it up, now you gotta
privately,
tell
but-
us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can't just say that and leave us all
Let's
hanging
just
here.
let's just say Osama bin Laden
Come on, no one's
is,
watching this
is
anyway.
real, and the big secret, the reason nobody wants to talk
on,
about it. They have $5 of shit, the fiat shit. Bitcoin, we're talking.
I'll send you $5.
What do you want to
for
bend
the
over?
Bitcoin.
We'll send you some Bitcoin right now.
But let's just say after bin Laden went bankrupt because his family.
Hang on, this works with fucking. I can't even say. it.
I know what you're gonna say.
We know what you're gonna. I've been to the truck stop, man. I was talking about.
I'm glad I got the truckers on today.
But let's through a roundabout way. Maybe we'll talk about this on your podcast. Bin Laden was cut off from his family. Had nothing, but he had some go-betweens and support in a country just north of the United States, who managed to funnel some taxpayer money to him. And several years later, some planes flew into the World Trade Center. And that's what everybody in Intel knows. Everybody in government knows. Nobody wants to say it because we already have enough friction because Canada is building a caliphate on the border. And there's people like myself that have been trying to warn the alarm for 10 years now, inside politics and outside politics. And our political class doesn't care.
Yep.
And that is why Canada has become, in my opinion, more of a clear and present danger to the United States' national interests than Mexico, which was the premise of my talk in December.
All right, we're.
What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, we're sitting there
What
like
is this-
arm wrestling.
What is
shit.
the Ziggler
We'll toss
thing?
you that ball, Ziggler.
Here you go,
Come.
Todd.
Yeah, there's a lot there. I agree and disagree with a lot of the comments, but I'm thinking about the political class and the political elites, and I think a lot of this, I'm kind of one of these people that believes that we don't. I mean, obviously, we're seeing some important change in the United States, right? We've seen that very dramatically over the course of the last 5 or 6 weeks. I don't think we can get the type of systemic change that leads to a more or a less interventionist policy for the United States until we actually term limit Congress, right? I think that's how we get systemic change, because the problem is, these
You got these dinosaurs, yeah.
yeah, they get into
The
power, they
Pelosi's
stay in power, it
Mhm.
becomes
McConnell's.
right.
Yeah.
They develop all these relationships with special interest, with the military industrial complex, and shit gets sideways all over the world, right? And not to say that could be entirely mitigated, but I think if, and this is not a novel idea, right? This was the idea of the founding fathers, right? Most of them, you
But
know.
Todd, then I can't have my whole family on a fucking NGO that's getting paid $100 million by USAID.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
I mean, we're trying to, give transgender animals rights here in the state of Uzbekistan.
Right.
I mean, they need to be able to transition.
Right. And I know we're not going to go back to a time where, half of Congress were farm owners and they come to Washington for 3 months out of the year and they legislate and they go back home. I know that those days are long gone. But I think term limits change a lot of these problems.
Change the incentive structure for sure.
Yeah,
for sure.
Exactly.
Yeah, you shouldn't be able to just be in Congress for 40 years like Nancy Pelosi or Mitch McConnell. It's just
And
ridiculous.
I think something else that I don't know how many people have brought this up, but when you see the line items from USAID, you know that they're sending X number of tens of thousands of dollars for transgendered poetry in Colombia.
Yeah.
Like I live there. Like that's not a thing.
Yeah.
That never happens. But what that is, that's a line item that addresses Western sensibilities. So people are afraid to attack it because maybe the mob will seek retribution to anybody who asks any questions.
Well,
I think all of these things are just bullshit.
Yeah, and there's the question too. Like, have we really followed the money all the way to its final destination?
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Because it might not have actually gone to transgender poetry.
Oh, of course it's not.
At all.
It's total.
Yeah,
crap.
I think it was a blamed Mercedes S-Class in someone's driveway.
I was going to
is
say
what it was.
the money probably ended in Arlington, Virginia, or something like that, right?
Yeah, the rats are scurrying in D.C. right now. It's apparently it's chaos.
Yeah, one of the really interesting articles that I saw recently was the average housing price in the greater DC metropolitan market. I think has dropped $100,000 in the last 30 days.
And remember the Google queries for lawyers the day that
that is unbelievable.
criminal
You're
defense
seeing
lawyers,
criminal defense attorneys, no extradition to the United States. I mean, countries with no extradition, bleach bit hard drive.
Yeah, and one of the things
wild.
that Trump has talked about a little bit, which I think is an absolutely beautiful idea, is this idea that he has about moving, executive agencies to different parts of the country.
That's a brilliant idea.
Yeah, like why isn't the EPA in Washington State?
Yeah,
right. Why isn't the Department of Defense somewhere else?
Yeah,
right. I think that's the way to decentralize beyond term limits.
Crazy.
I always actually go back in history, and you're gonna love this. Look up a place called Cairo, Illinois.
Are there pyramids there?
Brother, if I go down this rabbit hole,
man,
this was
someone was taught in government daycare.
BJ, your conceal and carry license.
Are you
is
talking
no
about
good in Cairo, Illinois?
The state of Illinois. The state of Illinois, Paul.
Cairo, Illinois.
Isn't it Illinois? You said Illinois.
I was cracking on you, Paul.
Dickhead. What the fuck was that?
Don't worry, I got him back for you. I said he was raising.
BJ Dictor out of your mouth.
Hey, a 20 to 20.
This might be the best runway pod we've ever had.
All right, click right there.
You gonna trust the Wikipedia?
Oh, yeah, because I helped write it. I'm serious.
I believe you.
All right, this was the original Washington, D.C.
Okay.
All right. Cairo, Illinois is at the crossroads of three major rivers, Ohio, Mississippi, and shit. I can't remember the third one. All right, Ohio, Mississippi, and there's another one I can't remember that actually a little bit up more. All right, there's literally
Missouri
It was
River?
actually named after the Egyptian city of Cairo because it was very similar to the Nile Delta, where Ohio, Mississippi rivers, all the stuff. Yeah, it's very interesting.
Oh.
All right. Prior to the Civil War, they were actually going to make this the Washington, D.C.
The federal government. Okay.
All right. This was Trump in the 1800s. All right. This is when Andrew Jackson.
Was this after the Canadians burnt the White House? Just gonna throw that
Yes.
Oh yeah,
Yes,
right.
it was.
Yeah.
And
The only violent thing Canadians ever really did.
No, the number one country that the U.S. has invaded throughout history is the United States 9 times, and you lost every time.
that,
So maybe Cynthia Freeland is actually a
The
better name.
only-
Cynthia.
Chris,
Freethier.
The
communist
only
Freeland.
thing that
Appreciate
Canada produced that was ever worth of shit was Rush. All right.
What
But,
about, well, and maple syrup.
Maple syrup is pretty damn good.
well,
I
I'm
mean,
on
they
a
make-
diet, so.
The Canadian.
No, this what if you go there, and we've actually drove through it. There are these huge friggin' buildings that say U.S. Department of Treasury,
Mhm.
U.S. Department of Defense, U.S. blah blah blah, and these huge, empty, abandoned that look exactly like the buildings in Washington D.C.
Interesting.
And what happened was, after the Civil War, they abandoned Cairo and they shipped everything and started creating the progressive infrastructure in Washington, D.C. The reason they didn't want it in Cairo and the reason that the pro-Americana founding fathers people wanted it in Cairo is because of the work ethic of the Midwest and how patriotic the people in the Midwest were. The progressives wanted it up around New York, Virginia, all in that very progressive, kind of Fabian socialist like mindset. And that's why they actually built Washington, D.C. where they did, because they wanted all of because northern people, even those who think they're patriots, are actually more progressive than patriots.
Okay, well, the United States is was founded by 4 ethno groups. You have your Yankees, your Quakers, your Scots-Irish, and your Southerners, right? So that's the demographic makeup of the United States. The Yankees and the Quakers were the ones who were up north, right? The Quakers being Pennsylvania. That's why that was the intersection between all of these groups.
Now, when you say the Quakers, are you talking about the Puritans?
No, the people from that region of England that came over to the New World, the Quakers themselves, some of them were Puritans. I don't know the Puritan intersection.
If you're actually talking about the Pilgrims, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, the original settlement, because when you get Scots-Irish culture is what gave us, Texan culture,
those
and
were
rural
Puritans.
culture.
All of them were
Puritan
Puritans.
England, but you know what I mean? But they had various differences between each other. I don't know when was the progressive era was the early 20th century,
We're
like the
still
early
in
1900s. No, I know that. But in 1863, that was prior to
Yes, it was
the progressive era and the
Yep, that was right after the Andrew Jackson won his election in like 1840 something.
Aren't you impressed that a Canadian knows this much about
Wow.
U.S.
Well,
history? Let me ask you some Canada history.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know.
We'll be at a loss. We'll be at a loss.
Maple syrup.
Because Canada to most Americans is just a
Rush.
rumor. We know that.
Yeah.
It's a really cold place up north past
No,
New York.
remember, most of Canada is south of the border,
Oh,
right?
okay.
So it's similar to New York.
I thought
in
that was
terms
just
of
like the
climate.
woods.
A lot of it's south of Maine. I know that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Oh,
true.
The progressive era
Yeah.
originated at the writing of the Communist Manifesto, and then from there, about 2 years later, Karl Marx actually started teaching a class at the London School of Economics, and that's where he formed the Fabian Socialist.
I thought it was Engels who did all the work. Isn't that the truth?
No,
That's usually how it works in
Angles.
communism. Everyone else does all the work.
Yeah. I'm not disagreeing with you.
Yes,
I don't know either.
I don't know. Yeah.
Your Engels was actually the money man,
Yeah.
right? And the talent, which he wasn't really a talented person, he was a pedophile who was a raging alcoholic, Karl Marx.
Yeah.
Once they launched the Fabian Society, the Fabian Society then evolved into and had all of these remote groups, and they are who funded the Russian Revolution and all of the early communist movements, because the Fabian socialists actually split in half. One half of them went the revolutionary route. That was, Karl Marx, all of the Russian and everyone who wanted war went this way. Everyone who was going after America went the progressive route. We're actually talking about what was the name of? Yes, George Shaw. All right, and all of the progressives actually came to America because they knew they couldn't actually win with a war. They had to infiltrate the American.
So they were pussies, basically, is what you're saying.
Well, no,
yes.
but it's interesting.
I don't know.
That's the exact same strategy as I don't know. I'm going to trust
I don't
you,
know
but
either. Yeah,
that's the exact same strategy as the Muslim Brotherhood. So you have
Bingo.
the Hassan al-Banna, the ones who wanted to infiltrate, and Said Qutb, the ones who wanted violence.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, dude, if you
And-
want to talk about Muslim history, we can go down that road.
I'm going to
too.
bring you guys. I'm going to bring you guys back to 2025.
We may do more than one.
Dude, we should actually do a weekly show of what
We can
the
do this.
fuck.
Yeah,
We can do all
exactly.
sorts of shit.
exactly.
guys. We're
Who
happy
knows
to do it.
what's gonna fucking come on that?
There's already a What the Truck show, but
Yeah,
we,
What the
could, we
Truck.
could do What the Fuck.
Yeah.
How about what the pluck?
There you go. There you go.
Paul, bring us back to 2025. I don't know. We're talking about some
Where's
Kazarian communist progressives from the 1969s. Let's come back to 2025.
That's
over
right.
here.
Let's bring it up to date.
And I apologize for that, but really,
Oh, no, it's fine. We're just fucking.
to grasp everything that's going on now, you have to know the past.
That's right.
Well, and I would argue that the modern version of progressivism that we've seen manifest itself in North America, right, probably started around the time of the Great Depression, right? That's when you had President Woodrow Wilson. That's when the Federal Reserve came back, right? That led to FDR, the Great Society programs, and it's just kind of built and then 2 world wars,
Yeah.
right? What's the famous quote from Barack Obama's guy, never let a good crisis go to waste,
Yeah.
right? It all kind of got its origin in the Great Depression because before that we had the Roaring '20s, we had no federal income tax.
We had 1917.
It's a fascinating story when
Yeah.
they first made the Federal Reserve, and I think I want to say it's Friedrich Hayek, but it could have been von Mises. Warned kind of the Keynesian school of thought. It was
Yes.
hey, you're going to stop these little boom and bust cycles, but you're going to create something much bigger. You're going to delay this.
Right.
And sure enough, there was the Great Depression. I mean, the
And
Roaring 20s
yeah,
and
and
the Great Depression.
that's one of the 2 primary mandates for the Federal Reserve, right? Is to mitigate the boom and bust cycles. And how are they doing with that?
Yeah, you just
How are they really doing?
How's
with
that going for us?
Yeah.
Right?
Yes, they just keep
Yeah.
reinflating these giant bubbles, and it's not a good scenario.
Yeah,
God,
maintaining
you guys are
maintaining
great.
They gotta let-
maintaining sound money, right, and mitigating boom and bust cycles. How are they doing with that?
It's not so hot, not so
Yeah.
hot. But I mean, you got to let the little boom and bust cycles come, and it's like I
In
always use the
government,
analogy
it's
of
only a
forest. You gotta let
success
the
when you
fires burn.
It's only a success
have
in
to-
government when you fail on both fronts. Right?
As soon as you said that, I'm like, I bet he's going to say fail.
So, Paul, can you put up the thing about the dual citizenship thing? I thought this was fascinating. There's this judge who's blocking, I think some of Trump's stuff, and I guess they squeaked him through the before the administration's changed over. It's like this Judge Ali guy, but yeah, that's the person I was talking about. But this he's basically like a dual citizen of I don't know what, some Muslim country and the United States, and he's like a judge that's trying to stop all of the USAID money that's literally going to all these places.
This
And
guy's a pedo.
So
Who's the judge?
Ali something.
I'll pull it up for you. There's
Alahi,
2
Ali.
guys that are
There's a
pushing
couple
back
of them,
on it,
yeah, but
and they both are foreigners. It appears.
just so corrupt. I mean, they put these the left does this thing where they jurisdictional shop, where they go to where it's 97% one
It's called
political party.
forum shopping.
Yeah, forum shopping. That's
I'm
what I heard.
telling
This
you.
guy named Todd Ziegler. He does this all the time.
I'm telling you, lawyers know the truth.
They know, yeah. So it's
Right?
it's like when they go after Trump, they don't go after Trump in just a neutral jurisdiction. I mean, they go to Washington D.C. or New York City, the most hard corrupt left-leaning places
Yep.
where it's like everybody agrees with them. You know, it's like there's no, you're not there. This guy right here, Judge Amir Hatem Ali, rules Trump must make our taxes fund foreign aid, U.S. aid projects to NGOs. Ali was a founding NGO member. I mean,
guarantee.
Can you believe
that
the level of
guy's
corruption?
Muslim Brotherhood.
I don't know, but,
like it.
I guarantee
he's got some. There's two
I don't know if
different
he is or not.
styles.
Look at
and
the
he's-
dude behind him.
I don't know if he is or
That
not.
dude's definitely Muslim Brotherhood or high as fuck.
He does look a
He
little
looks
high.
high.
He does look a little high.
Definitely does.
But I will say, that, you know, there's such a conflict of interest. I mean, how corrupt do you have to be to, you know, be able to rule on a case where you're literally a founding member of some of these NGOs and you're forcing the government to try to keep that money flowing. I mean, it's such a so corrupt, and obviously he's going to get overruled because he's in a hyper partisan area. But the question I wanted to ask you guys was, and Thomas Massey brought this up, you know, this idea of being able to be part of the government when you're a dual citizen. To me, I think that is ridiculous. I think if you have dual loyalties, I think you should not be able to serve for political office, and at least in the United States of America. You know, if you're a single citizen, I mean, your loyalty should not be questioned whatsoever to the United States if you are in any form of government, in my opinion, including being a judge. I mean, I think it's outrageous that a dual citizen could be in a position of political power, but that's my opinion. Oh, maybe somebody has a counter take.
I think we should ask the lawyer.
Let's ask the lawyer.
He's going to be worried about the bar. So.
Well,
I'm just kidding.
I'm a non-practicing lawyer, and this is not legal advice. Right?
Okay, beautiful.
Bullshit.
Yeah. But no, you know, a lot of these federal judges, they're appointed. They're not elected by anybody, of course. The good news
Sounds about right.
Yeah, the good news is at the federal level right now, and it certainly hasn't been this way, you know, over the course of history, and we've had some very bad federal court rulings, you know, over the last century. But we have a very strong appellate system in place, and we have a Supreme Court that is very heavily rooted in textualism and you know, getting to the original intent of the Constitution and kind of rooting out a lot of this nonsense that's been pervasive in the judiciary going back some time. So, to your point, it's absurd that you have an appointed member of the judiciary telling the executive branch what the executive branch can and cannot do with what is effectively an executive branch agency.
Yeah.
Right. It's pretty simple.
Not effectively. It literally is.
Yeah. It's pretty brass tacks. You know, Trump is the chief executive officer of the executive branch. He basically has complete dominion.
That's right.
Over the executive branch.
Yeah.
So whatever rulings these kind of, you know, these
activists. I mean,
these strange federal judges come up
Yeah.
with, they're not going to last for long.
One of the ones that I've seen is this is my favorite, where like they do this ruling, like these little corrupt judges do these rulings, and then you try to appeal it, and then they just sit on the case where like they just won't hear it. So that way you're just stuck with the thing. That's like another.
Well,
little way.
the Supreme Court has actually done a lot with expediting certiorari.
Apparently,
recently.
they just did that
So,
recently. They just turned one of these
Yeah,
rulings.
and the
They just went
district
right to the Supreme Court.
and the courts of appeal can do that as well.
Yeah,
Right.
okay.
We've got I think we still got 9 circuits on the Court of Appeals level. So yeah, things like this won't stand for very long. But it really is just. I mean, it's outrageous. Right. I mean, it's just I love it in the legal profession. We call this judicial fiat. Right. It's judicial nonsense, but it makes a lot of sense. You know, we talk about monetary policy fiat. Yeah. It's like it's nonsense. Right.
Yeah.
And that's what it is.
Listening to you is like fucking libertarian porn.
I am a Ron Paul guy, so that's apropos.
All I need is some alone time and some KY, and I'm good.
Let me call Diddy for you.
Yeah, fuck Diddy. Oh my God. No, and you're one of the few honest lawyers out there, or an ex-lawyer, however you're licensed. Because, Willie, to tell you the truth, and please tell me if I'm wrong, is your lawyer doesn't work for you. They work for the bar, right? Because every lawyer is what do they call them, like a servant of the court?
Officer of the court.
Officer of the court.
An officer of the court.
Yeah.
Every lawyer, not the prosecutor. Every lawyer is an officer of the court. If you hire...
Right, and what is the court?
What? Exactly.
It's an arm of government.
Bingo.
Right.
And I won't go history, but
Just don't go back
I know
1,000 years.
I know you want to. I know you want to. So, Paul, take us to our next take.
Just on the dual citizenship thing, I'm trying to argue the other
says
side.
the Canadian.
Well, here's the point. Like, I'm in the process where, like, I love this country, and given what we went through in Ottawa, I mean, I always respected it, but Canadians, I think, overall had a newfound respect for your Constitution and understood why it's so vitally important, because we don't have that. You know, we have the Charter of Rights and Freedoms, where the very first section says the government can remove these rights at any time if they think there's a
It's
risk
the
to the
complete
country.
opposite of our Constitution.
Right.
It's a bit of a caveat.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know where my destiny would be. Again, I do spend most of my time in the U.S., and in my whole life I've grown up, and I have, you know, passion for both Canada and that's why, you know, merging the two in some way I'm very excited about. But maybe there would be a time in my life that I would be a dual citizen. I would be both Canadian and
El
American.
Salvador.
I don't see a problem with that. I guess the question is, do you think that you should be able to serve in political office?
Well, this is and trying to work
America.
through this. I'm I'm trying to figure out what is the best argument for that to say yes, and that's a challenge, because I definitely sympathize with your perspective, and I doubt I would ever run for office, anything in Canada, in the United States anyways. But I'm trying to find a good argument, and when I do, I will let you know.
Well, I mean, now, from a legal basis, what would be the precedent for him not actually being able, or what would legally have to change? Because citizenship didn't exist prior to the Civil War.
And also, remember now, if you're a citizen of a country, they're making it so difficult, almost impossible, to renounce your citizenship.
yeah.
Right? So if I'm Canadian, I want to renounce it's a nightmare. It's just easier just to leave it.
Yep.
And, you know, that's also something to come into play. So I don't know.
If you want
Maybe that's
to
the best argument I can come up with.
renounce your American citizenship, it used to cost you $1,000.
Oh, now it's a fortune. Charlie was
Yeah,
telling me the
it's
other day.
it's like $190,000.
Well, that's what they got Roger Ver on, isn't it?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, And no matter if you leave the country, renounce your citizen for 10 years, they can tax you.
Not only that, I had a cousin. I mean, Canadians have a lot of
Oh,
American
are we
friends.
friends now?
Yeah.
No, I'm just joking.
I had a cousin of mine who was born in the United States. So he's cousin by marriage, married one of my cousins. And he had been in Canada for 40 years. Only went back to the U.S. a handful of times. And then one day, he gets a tax bill. You haven't filed your taxes in 40 years. He says, well, yeah, I'm married. I'm a Canadian citizen. I haven't gone back to the United States. Like, well, you haven't filed. So the IRS levied some sort of fine, some penalty on him. It ended up costing him $40,000 in legal fees just to fight, because I never heard of this. The United States is a country that taxes based on citizenship, not on residency. Canada's not.
Yeah.
Canada taxes based on residency. You leave the country, you pay taxes in a foreign jurisdiction. So that is a weakness, I think, of the United States. And I know Trump has made overtures and suggested that that's maybe something he would be willing to change in the near future.
What do you actually know about the legal structure up in Canada?
Very little.
It is very so.
Yep.
One of the things I do is I produce podcasts,
Yeah.
and one of the podcasts I produce.
Could you let us know how everyone can actually find you?
Yeah, this particular one's called Not on Record. You can find it on Twitter. Go to Not on Record. You can watch all the episodes there, and it's with a criminal defense lawyer and Diana Davison, a very well-known men's rights activist. Over many years.
Wait. Did you say men's rights?
Men's rights, yeah, men's rights.
When
activists.
the fuck did we get those?
Oh,
Never.
for like 10 years. Yeah, she was one of the people for early
We're
stages.
the oppressors, don't you know that?
Yeah, I was about to say, I thought we were the bad
No.
shithead fuckers.
Well, no, but this is the problem. What they deal with in his law firm is false accusations and Me Too,
Ooh,
right?
See, I have a theory. no good-looking guy has ever been accused of sexual assault.
That's a sexual assault, yes.
Or
sexual battery, well, that sort of stuff.
Yeah, what?
Or rape.
But there's no woman who had some good-looking guy walk up and flirt who is like, oh, I'm offended.
Yeah, yeah, no.
But let some little troll, short, midget, ugly fucker with a mole on his eye walk up.
It's even worse. You know what
She's
happens?
claiming he visually.
Do you want to call this Zelensky's razor? Is that what you want to call this?
BJ Dick. I have a question for you real quick.
Hold on, but you know where this happens? It's very serious. On university campuses, girls are using it to get other students charged who don't show interest, don't reciprocate interest in them. So they just make up a phony claim.
Fucking bitches be crazy, man.
Yeah. So, but the point is, in this podcast, we talk a lot. It's all Canadian law. And one of Joseph's criticisms is about the U.S. legal system. He calls it the meat grinder. Because in the Canadian legal system, there are no cameras in courts. There's no, it's I won't say transparency, but you can read all the legal arguments, but there's not the sensationalism and media sensation around trials. Mm-hmm. So you don't have the same, tainting of the juries and tainting of the trials like you have in the United States, which is a very big concern down here. But that's what they do. They use these Me Too false accusations to destroy the lives of young kids in young men in universities.
See,
Bitcoin Ben groped me in the bathroom. Do I have men's rights against him?
I know that I can get him a defense. I don't know, but I don't know on the other side.
That's your fault. You walked in.
He can defend himself.
Yeah. He called it the meat grinder. I don't know.
And then I actually gave him a little dance before I started getting on him.
I'm not going to lie, though. He showed up today. I'm like, who the fuck is that handsome guy?
Yeah.
Where's that fat trucker I fucking know?
Yeah.
Like, motherfucker, have you been on Carnivore or something?
Yeah. I've lost almost 80 pounds.
I'm impressed.
Well, that's what happens.
I didn't know you had a jawline. I'm fuck.
I don't.
This is fine. I'm like, what the hell? I'm like, I'm not the most good-looking guy in the podcast anymore. What's going on?
Dude, here, let me take my hat off. You get that trophy back. All right?
Seriously, though, Ben, congratulations, dude. You look fantastic.
That's amazing.
Like,
I'm involved
call me a homo
in
if you
Bitcoin.
Want, but I'm proud.
No, I won't call you a homo, Nico.
I don't mind. Okay, Nico, okay.
I'm in cryptos. I'm in Bitcoin. And every time it drops, I buy more Bitcoin.
Yeah.
So I have this new philosophy that according to scientists, you can go 19 days without eating and not die. So what I do is I don't eat and I use all that money to buy Bitcoin. Then every 19th day, I have half a marshmallow. And I figured that should be enough sustenance to last me another 19 days.
Oh, you're full of shit,
right?
but I love it.
No, I'm not full of shit anymore.
Marshmallow.
I shit it all out.
No food and cigarettes. The Bitcoin Ben diet weight loss plan.
Beautiful.
And Red Bull.
Red Bulls.
Oh my God, Paul, bring us to our next take.
And plenty of BJs.
Oh man.
I don't know. I'm liking this. I think we should just keep going.
Actually, guys, I have to run. Because I'm heading up to one of our clubs up in where the fuck are we going? Nashville. And
tell Todd and Janet I said hello.
Oh, absolutely. Oh, I'm telling you, Todd and Janet, Nashville, and also Steve, my boy. Shout out, Steve. Yeah, if you're anywhere near Nashville, check out our club. I don't remember the address. Just actually Google that shit. And we're having an event, which is my birthday bash on Saturday. I turned
Happy
50.
birthday.
Thank
69.
you. That's right. 69. Everybody's coming.
69 minutes. Welcome to your next episode of 69 Minutes, where everybody's coming.
Well, Ben, it's going to be hard to let you go without at least getting one comment from you on this whole Epstein list.
Oh,
debacle.
that's right.
Oh yeah, we got to talk about this a little bit just before you. What time do you have to leave, Ben?
After this.
All right.
I got to talk about
What
Epstein.
do you guys think about this? Because there's all this controversy. Like they didn't release all the files, but I mean, I'm not surprised that these, the SDNY, which is the FBI office, there is like withholding all of the information. Like they think they're basically in charge of everybody. They think that they can just run shit. Like they're unelected bureaucrats and they just decide how things go. They don't have to be accountable to the executive branch that they fall under when the president, puts people in positions and makes them have leadership roles. They just think that they don't have to respond to the boss. They're their own boss. They can do whatever the fuck they want on the taxpayer dime. What are your thoughts on this?
I highly recommend I go last.
Okay, all right, cool.
I'll go second last. Go ahead, Todd.
Let's ask the lawyer.
Well,
he has rights.
No, all I would say is I hope we see more FOIA requests.
Uh-huh.
And again, these the folks that are part of DOJ in the Southern District of New York, also executive officers within the executive branch.
Uh-huh.
So if Trump and the cabinet and the administration want more disclosure, they should be able to get it.
Yeah.
In theory. And that's what I'm hoping for.
What I've heard is that office is where all of these lawfare cases against Trump came out of.
Right.
That's right.
I
And they
think
have
James
a
Comey's daughter is the
98%
head.
conviction rate in that court.
Yeah, that's kangaroo court.
That's where they drag everybody through.
Yeah.
I know somebody was a victim of that court as well.
Wow.
Yeah.
Kangaroo court. So, I mean, do you think the idea that Pam Bondi didn't know that original documents were sent wasn't at all because she sent that letter to Kash Patel? I'm kind of wondering if she was maybe waiting for Kash to get in to be able to like exert the pressure. That was kind of my thought. Was like,
I think there's back to Hanlon's razor. There's so many moving parts. It's such a large bureaucracy. You've seen legally how the country works, and there's always a reason things shouldn't be done. And government, in general, is, I like to say, change in government is like doing a U-turn with a battleship. It's slow and laborious for a reason, and that's actually a feature.
Yep.
I do, when I produced this podcast for the intelligence guy who I mentioned many years ago, I remember we had a jihadi attack on my street. And they shot up the guy shot up all the restaurants in my neighborhood.
Where the fuck did you live?
Toronto, downtown Toronto. And he executed.
Okay, that makes sense.
Executed a bunch of girls. Well, one girl's 12 years old. Emptied an entire chamber
Jesus
in her
Christ.
back on the ground. And I remember reaching out to him saying, "What do you want to do with this? How do you want to cover it?" And he said, "We need to wait." As he learned, he was in the Balkans wars, and he was, on the ground trying to deal with the genocides, trying to prevent it. He said, you'll notice all these people in the media, they're going to rush with estimates. They're always wrong. They get the whole story wrong. Just wait. Let people in law enforcement do their job. It's going to be a week or so. I have contacts I'm going to reach out to. And then we'll lay it out for people. We don't want to not jump to conclusions, but we don't want to taint people's perception of what happened. And what I'm worried with Epstein, that this is what we're getting, that people have already been bought into a narrative. Like imagine you're a guy blackmailing, I don't know, the entire world, all these wealthy people. Are you really going to keep it in a diary and write down their names? I blackmailed this person and whatever. Like, is that how we operate? I don't think so. That's why I think we're going to be very disappointed in what we see. You're going to see a bunch of names. You're going to see names of his lawyers who went there. Okay, were his lawyers there for fun time, or were they just his lawyers going there to do legal work, right?
the bill at $1,500 an hour.
Yeah, I think people are inferring things that might not have been there. So I just want to wait. Let's just wait and let them do their thing. It's going to be a pain in the ass. They'll stonewall Trump. It'll go back and forth for a few weeks. Let's see what comes out and then make judgments. Is that unreasonable? I mean, listen, he's a piece of garbage. We all know that. But he's dead. He's dealt with. But what would it be like? Imagine you're, I don't know, a consultant, and you get a lawyer you're friends with saying, yeah, this ultra billionaire guy everybody knows has an island. I got you a flight in a private jet. We're going to go there, and he might invest in your project. So let's go together. You think, wow, it's the opportunity of a lifetime.
Yeah.
Of course. And then your name is on that list. You have a wife and kids. And there's an inference that anybody who got on that plane was engaged in that behavior, which I just don't know that that's the truth. It might be. It might just be a list of those people, but it might not be. I don't know.
I think it's an
See.
interesting and credible perspective on the situation. What do you think, Ben? You're last up.
They're all pedos. They're all fucking
They're all
pedos.
pedos.
Burn them on the cross. Right?
You're damn right. No, the only thing I didn't hear you mention was the Anthony Weiner laptop.
Weiner?
Yeah, Anthony Weiner.
I thought it was
Yeah.
Hunter Biden.
No, different laptop.
Most of these idiots in their laptops.
lot of laptops going around.
Look up Anthony Weiner laptop.
That was
that one was
that was years ago.
yes, but it had incriminating evidence and it was covered up. It's
Oh,
been
really?
It's been kept.
Brother,
this-
I bring receipts.
But the one thing I want to mention on all this is, as we saw in real time, the FBI raided the Diddy mansion and scraped all of the, incriminating evidence.
Yeah.
I'm sure they did the same thing at the Epstein Island. I don't give a flying fuck who was flying on that plane. I want to see footage, right? I don't need to see it myself. I want investigators to look at that footage and arrest every motherfucker that was violating children.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Yeah, and if they have
It's
videos,
simple.
especially, yeah, for sure.
All right,
Yeah.
don't worry about all of that video from like his house and Epstein. And have you guys ever heard of a company called Blackwater?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I haven't.
And apparently all 4 influencers who received the Epstein binder yesterday work or are sponsored by one of the Blackwater affiliate companies.
I thought Blackwater shut down like a decade ago. Am I thinking the wrong company?
Yeah.
It's now Z?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Eric Prince.
Yes. Eric Prince.
Yeah.
Right. Blackwater has all that copied.
Oh, do they?
Oh yeah, because they actually went in prior to FBI.
Oh, okay.
Oh yeah. Look up Anthony Weiner.
I'll tell you something interesting about
Just
Anthony
type the last
Weiner.
name first and just search that.
Anthony Weiner's ex-wife. I'm not saying
What?
she is anything, but her parents,
She kept
The
like forgetting
Muslim
that.
Brotherhood.
I remember
very
that.
senior in the Muslim Brotherhood,
Oh, really?
like adjacent to Yusuf Qaradawi, like one level below. And she has now married George Soros' very gay
Bingo.
son.
Very
And
gay.
now the
Now
Muslim
that's a
Brotherhood
bag.
has access to that money.
Wasn't she also Hillary Clinton's chief?
She
of
was
staff?
also
She was. I
Hillary
remember
Clinton's
that. I remember when Weiner was like, he kept doing this creepy shit, and she was like, "Oh, I'll forgive him." And then like 3 days later, he's like, "Oh, I did it again. I'm so sorry."
Yeah.
But
Finally.
let me break down this Anthony Weiner laptop real quick. All right. When they found the Anthony Weiner laptop,
Okay.
there were 7 officers, high-ranking police officers.
Hillary Clinton killed them, right?
Yeah,
Really?
yeah,
That was just a joke, really?
right there.
Oh, that's funny.
Every one of
Wow.
those people right
9 of
there.
12 officers.
They
who
were
saw
all
the video
swimming
stopped
off the
for a comment.
coast of El
Yeah.
Salvador.
Yeah, exactly.
Shark attack. Shark got them all.
I mean, statistically speaking,
Hungry
the amount of
sharks.
people that
What
have
are the
suicided
chances?
themselves within the Clinton network is just
Right.
statistically improbable.
Exactly. 12 officers sat in a room and watched the whole video fucking content of Anthony Weiner's laptop. And 9 out of the 12 were dead within 6 months.
Where are the other 3?
Canada.
Huh?
No, I'm just
No,
kidding.
no. The other 3 were not local police officers.
Okay.
They were FBI agents. They're all alive.
Okay. So
Right.
why don't we hear from them?
He,
They work at SDNY.
yeah.
Yeah, maybe Kash Patel is going to have a little conversation
Oh,
with them,
I guess
hopefully.
we'll find out.
He fucking better. If not, I will.
Oh, it's
Down, boy,
coming,
down, boy.
guys.
It's down to vigilante justice, dog.
All right. If you guys want to know why they can't release this all at once, because what little government structure that is reputable, everything will fucking collapse. Because
Yeah.
over 70% of the elected officials in Washington, D.C., and some of the non-affected or non-elected officials
Yeah.
will go to prison. They will get arrested.
I don't think there's anything credible left in Washington D.C.
Yeah.
So I don't
But
think
I
there's
thi-
any really much
I think there's
credibility
something
left
else.
there,
Something
so.
else that I've seen. We discussed it on our together. the many years I was involved in politics. Like, I'm a small business guy. They just got fed up, so I got involved in politics. What a mistake that was.
Oh, don't get Ben started on that guy.
But no, but the thing is,
the crook.
there is so much stuff.
Mike Benz, shout out.
There's so much stuff I know that I found because I was working with the right people, and I can never share it with people. You know why? No one will believe it.
Yeah.
Share it with us now. We'll be the
People are
judge of
not
that.
primed to. You'll tell them how this group of people and this individual. Hold on, you got to put it in my shorts, right? Yeah.
I'm not walking all the way over there, fucker. Unless you get up on the table. And
Save it
dance.
for the lot lizard and the truck stop. But you know what I mean? Like things are so wild, and like one thing I've always said is one piece of legislation in Canada that would never pass would be mandatory drug testing in the Parliament buildings. Because they're all coke addicts.
Yes.
Not all, but
a lot of them are.
That's right.
Yeah.
People have vices. All of us have something or things that maybe society in general would say, well, that's not gentlemanly like. That's just how people, especially truckers, whatever.
Yeah.
I think that's why people like Trump are so refreshing.
That's right.
Normal
As
fucking
he said,
person.
Yeah.
A
as he
normal
said,
fucking human being.
I'm no angel. And that
Exactly,
was
yeah.
refreshing for us to hear because none of us are.
That is why Andrew Jackson is Trump's favorite president.
Yeah.
Andrew Jackson holds the record for winning the most real-life duels
Yeah.
of any president
Are you
ever.
serious? Well, that's actually really cool.
57.
Wow.
And he won all of them.
Wow.
All right. This is the same
That's pretty
president who
badass.
got shot like 4 times or 3
That's
times.
pretty badass.
Andrew Jackson heading up to actually give a lecture up in the House of Commons was shot in the chest at point blank range.
Wow.
Didn't go to the hospital, went in. He did the presentation
Wow.
and then went and had the bullet fucking pulled out of him and was
That's badass.
at the White House not long after.
Wow.
That's what we need.
Fight.
Yeah, that's like that moment, that
Bingo.
historic moment. Yeah.
We need more men.
Yeah,
we
that's right.
need less men with pussies, and we need more fucking men. Because right now, and for the last probably 20 years, the feminization of America, and nothing
Of
against
society,
women.
of
all
society, yeah.
Nothing against women, but we don't need men to act like women. We got enough fucking crazy bitches. All right? Is we need men who act like men.
And we need women who act like women too.
That's right.
Oh, dude, I'm with you.
Which is why I love Latin America so
Yeah.
much.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There were some submissive gals down. What? What other word you want to use?
Can I defend Anthony Weiner?
Let's hear it.
Yes, go
No,
ahead.
I'm just kidding.
No, I was like on the edge of my seat. Like, I thought he was going to whip out his dick and be like, oh, there you go.
Oh my goodness.
All right, guys, I got to run, literally.
Yeah, get him out of here before we show Thomas Crooks on the cell phone before he tried to do his little assassination attempt.
All right, guys. Hey, man, great show. I love you, Nico.
Thank you so much, Grandpa.
Daddy.
We'll be in touch.
Yes, we are definitely going to do a show. You too, dude. And if I got like a fishing trip or something.
Just change it.
Yeah.
Oh, I
change
can't. No, this is with Patrick. He'll fucking kick me in my balls. Like you and I want you on my show. I'm definitely going to bring you on again because I think you and I, because you as a host, you're good, but you unleash him.
I'll let you guys, get into it. I gotta be
Right.
the host.
You unleash him, and he's almost worse than me. Well, almost worse. He'll never use the FAG word. All right, you
Get outta
guys,
here,
it's
you
been a
fag.
blast, man. Hey, you know what happened in the bathroom, boy? Don't make me get you back in there.
Hey, if you feel something under the table, don't worry about it. Okay?
I already felt for it. You didn't drop it. Come on, brother. All right, guys, I love you guys. We will definitely do this again. And if you're in Nashville, Google, Bitcoin Ben Crypto Club. Check out our club in Nashville. We got a fuck ton of other clubs. And this commercial was brought to you by the the Mormon
Pfizer.
Church
Of Latter-day Saints.
of Latter-day Saints. Have you heard the good news? We're the fuckers who knock on your door at 7 o'clock on Saturday morning. Have I told you the good news? Now fuck off. It's fucking 7 o'clock. Hop on your bike with your fucking book bag and you and your buddy get the fuck out of here. All right, love you guys.
You're a character,
All right,
man.
man.
All right, you're welcome
Welcome
back
back.
anytime, brother.
Thanks, Nico.
Be safe.
I guess.
Oh man.
Well, I also got a hard out, guys.
A
But
hard on?
A hard out.
Oh.
Hard out.
Oh, okay.
But I'll be here tomorrow, I think. Right?
Yes, you will. Yeah, you
Yeah.
and me. We're gonna go down the
Yeah.
rabbit hole on what you're working on. But
Absolutely. Absolutely.
yeah. What time do you have to be out of here? Right now?
Yeah.
Taking off. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so why
It's
don't you
okay.
wind it down?
Me and BJ can finish out one or two topics
Okay.
because I wanted to touch on something with him that you when we were recording earlier for Cypherpunk'd, you mentioned that like in Latin America, it's like you know it's corrupt. So like you just know like you can do business. Like to me, that's so much more refreshing in the sense that like if you want to get shit done, you're like, okay, well I gotta pay this bribe here to like get my paperwork processed to like so I can open the company or whatever it is. Like in America, we're under this illusion that like this isn't happening. It's all like just everybody's so proper, but instead you just don't even know what you don't know. Whereas like when I talk to people who do business in Latin America, they're like, yeah, it's fucking corrupt as shit. But like if I give the guy $100, he'll process my application and I get my business started. And like you just know you can get shit done. And you kind of said something similar like that when you talked about people's different political perspectives in different places, right? So what do you think about that?
Yeah, no, I think that's accurate. But there's also a regional element in Latin America.
Mhm.
So if you're in Colombia and you're a foreigner, if you're in Medellin, good luck. If you're not from Medellin,
Really?
because you're not a paisa.
Yeah.
So you need somebody who's from the local culture there.
Uh-huh.
And if you can get that, then you can have success.
Mm-hmm.
So it has its challenges as well. The problem we have with Western corruption, Canada, the U.S., England, it's just random. You never know. At least there it's predictable. You understand, okay, there's a business mafia in the country,
Yeah.
in this region. They get a percentage and whatever. Like, they're the unwritten rules. We don't have unwritten rules. You just decide there's a prosecutor that doesn't like you who works at the Southern District of
Yeah.
New York.
Yeah.
And he's tied to politics, then all of a sudden you may have problems. And that's
Yeah.
the problem here.
I agree with you. I agree completely.
Yeah.
Paul, what else you got for us? What's that was Mike Benz. Pull up the Mike Benz with the Thomas Crooks. I guess he's like on the cell phone before he attempted to kill Trump. Mike Benz says, "Who was Thomas Crooks on the phone with before he shot the
Oh,
president?"
he was totally coached, man.
Yeah, you think so too? I kind of.
Yeah, I think this happens frequently. Like you see, but remember with the governor of Michigan, remember there was a planned kidnapping of the governor of Michigan,
the Whitmer situation.
Whitmer, and
yeah.
we found out
was
of
just
the
all,
4 of them were feds
Yeah.
or informants, and there was only one guy.
who they like try to use to do it. I mean, it's too funny.
Yeah, so there's clearly much more to the story,
Uh-huh.
and we will never know the full story.
You think so?
We will never
Interesting.
know. No, I don't think so.
Well, Mike Benz, here I'll click on his channel to show you. He also questioned the J6, bomber, whatever that pipe
yeah, it looked
bomb
like those
situation
pipe
was.
bombs were kind of
Yeah,
a
Because
setup.
that guy was also on film with on the phone here. Here it is,
Mhm.
just beforehand.
Yeah, and they can identify everybody else with face recognition, but this guy they can't find. Like, come
Yeah.
on,
Yeah.
But who knows? You never know it's the vastness of government. It's back to Hanlon's razor and the incompetence and the internal politics, not just politics itself, but there's a lot of internal politics in law enforcement and policing too. So who knows? Who knows? Frustrating.
What else you got for us, Paul?
Well, there is this breaking story here. The Soros-backed.
Oh, the AstroTurfing. You probably know a lot
Exactly.
about this, BJ. Where they kind of like they're paying all these people to like show up and to like protest and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, that happens all the time.
So I guess these
That's
people.
just this politics is normal.
Yeah.
Look
possible.
it this way: the Kamala Harris campaign spent something like $2 billion, right?
Mhm.
What they gave $2 billion to CNN for ads? You think that's what it is? No. What it's done is money is distributed. Happens in Canada too. Happens everywhere.
Mhm.
People are paid either sometimes with money, often with access that's monetizable,
Yeah.
to get involved and be disruptors. And I remember when I ran, there was a guy. We have our, Justin Trudeau's not the most left. We have a more left-wing party than the Liberals, believe it or not. And I remember I would see this guy at every debate, every single local debate. This guy with his big, thick glasses, looked like a nerd. He looked like, I don't know. I'm trying to think of, he looked like Billy Joel, but with really big glasses. And he would sit at the back, and when the NDP candidate would say something good, bad, indifferent, stupid, he would stand up and give a massive applause, really, really loud, to try to encourage other people to clap. It was completely fake.
Oh yeah, he was okay. It was a plan.
There are tens of thousands of people like that in Canada alone.
Yeah.
And those are people who get paid to try to move the political needle. And sometimes things go a little too far, but that happens here as well. So I wouldn't be surprised at all.
I have a take here by somebody named BJ Dichter. He says,
don't trust them.
Don't trust this guy. The maniacs who told us for a decade that Canada has no identity, suspended civil liberties, and tried to kill Canadians by freezing their bank accounts, making them unable to buy basic food and medicine, now want to start nuclear war with our primary ally. They are the enemies of civility. So can you play that clip of this woman, this Chrystia Freeland?
The granddaughter of a Nazi.
And so what Canada needs to do is work closely with our democratic allies, our military allies. I've been foreign minister. I know how to do that. That's why I would start with our Nordic partners, specifically Denmark, which is also being threatened, and our European NATO allies.
Right.
I would be sure that France and Britain were there, who possess nuclear weapons. And I would be working urgently with those partners to build a closer security relationship that guarantees our security in a time when the United States can be a threat.
That is probably one of the most unbelievable things I've ever heard.
She's out of her fucking mind.
She kind of has a hot voice, though. I'm not going to lie. I listen to her little voice. It's like IQ of 12, but it's a hot voice.
If you see her in person, you're not going to think that. Trust me.
I'm not talking about her. I'm just talking about the voice. It just, you know what I mean? Like, but the fact that the fact that she actually believes what she's saying. I mean, you told me that she doesn't, but like,
well,
does she, or,
part
I mean,
of that is a
I don't
script,
know.
but
Yeah.
this just kind of shows the maniacal nature
It's
of
just
these people who
total
are in power.
delusion. I mean,
Yeah, and those are the ones, Donald Trump's going to try to start a nuclear war. Well, it looks an awful lot like Donald Trump is in the business of ending wars.
yeah.
While they are arming to she was foreign minister. She is such an airhead. She's got to be the dumbest person in Canadian politics, yet she's always propped up, and it's infuriating.
Yeah, that's...
So those are your neighbors to the north. We don't all hate you. Many of us love you. Many of us love America. Don't nuke us, and we'll get through this together because we hate them just as much. Can you send in SEAL Team 6? Just take care of some of these people.
Oh man.
BJ, I hate to do it to you. Right now you're at 69 likes.
Don't do
I'm gonna
it.
have to make it 70.
All right,
You bastard. You bastard.
but that's the thing. They for 10 years they said Canada has no identity. Canada is a post-national state. Canada is a racist colonial project. Okay, and Trump says, well, then join the United States. No, we're Canadian. We have our own sovereignty. Well, you can't suck and blow at the same time, right? 10 years, you know what I mean? Like it's
I've seen some crazy shit in my day. Hey,
Colombia.
Oh my goodness! But probably the craziest thing today is that situation with Zelensky and Trump in the White House. Like, what do you? We didn't really get to unpack I wanted to really unpack from the other side and what the implications are going forward. Do you think that?
Well, they'll just say Donald Trump is a bully and he's racist. That's it. But that's kind of the mindless activist frame.
That's the activist frame.
I think it's the reasonable people will look at that and say, okay, maybe this guy isn't the Zelensky guy. Maybe he's not that big friendly hero they've been propagandized
brainwashed to believe. But what is the equation there? How do you think this plays out? Do you think the narrative that Russia is just are always our enemy? Do you think there can be a realignment of relationships and at least have a civil relationship where there's not like we don't have like NATO bases on their border and they don't have like, you know, any kind of ill will towards us, and we can kind of work in a more economic partnership.
I think the concern with Russia is that Putin is the most reasonable one there.
Really?
Yeah, and I know somebody who's Russian, who's in politics, very astute on these sort of matters, and works in very high up in government. And the problem is, if Putin's gone, what's going to follow him
is going to be way worse.
Is way worse, and it's just like my concern with Trump is with all these executive orders that are, you know, of the grace of God, what we always wanted. You need to get those into legislation, or else they're just going to be undone.
Just like they did with the border and all the stuff last time.
That's right. So governments have different leaders, and Russia is the same way. So I think it's great. I think what he's trying to do is bring Russia back into the global economic system, so they become an ally.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people that won't be able to digest that, and I understand why. But at the end of the day, over the long term, when you're allies with people, you don't go to war with them. There's a lot less of a chance. And I'm very sympathetic. Like, I'm of two minds. I understand the non-interventionist, but there's also everything's a trade-off, right? And the trade-off for non-interventionism is that, okay, so we're going to be surrendering influence around the world and business opportunities and contracts and energy contracts.
Why don't we just focus on that instead of war everywhere?
Well, agreed.
I mean, like,
agreed.
It sounds like Putin and Trump are talking business, and he's trying to like.
Which is what
Trump was trying to talk business with Zelensky.
Which is what I think we're going to get, and if that becomes the new paradigm,
I hope so.
That international relations is about economics. I think we're going to be a much better world.
I think you're right, man. I really hope we can move past all this and like let's compete in like sports. Like let's fucking cheer on our countries and like soccer matches and hockey matchups.
That's
and,
right.
You know, like you know, Trump and Putin, they could do a big UFC thing where like the Russian fighters fight the American fighters. Let's have that like kind of competition.
Yeah.
But like this prospect of all these wars and all this stuff. I mean, maybe I'm just being extremely naive. You know, having looked at history.
Well,
I hope for a better world, I guess is all I'm saying.
I see the biggest conflict, and my concern is out of the Middle East. But thank God, as we discussed earlier, there are countries like the UAE and Saudi Arabia and the countries that want to come on board with the Abraham Accords. That, too, may end up isolating the jihadi influence from the Muslim Brotherhood. But the problem is they're here, right? So we're not doing anything about them in the United States and in Canada. They will clean up the Middle East. But what is our policy and our strategy to deal with this metastasizing extremist cancer in the U.S.? Once they figure that out, then I think the world will be a much better place.
Interesting. I think that's a good place to end our episode for today.
I think so.
Thanks for listening, guys. It's been a pleasure. We had a lot of good laughs today. Hopefully everybody had a sense of humor. And BJ, thanks so much for being on, brother. Thank you for all that you've done.
I appreciate it, man. This was fun.
The runway.